You know, FEMA come out here, right? And there were 2 of them out here, and we're like, you know, some of these people, like one has a heart condition, you have to knock on doors. They spent 30 minutes out here. There's one that has rejection letter after rejection letter because where they're living here, it's not a disaster zone. But when they put the address of where you send their mail, so they get denied because they're here.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio,
Tumwa, Iowa.
Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
James Lunford, who set up this Haven on a Hill camp where people were seeking shelter from their situation. What inspired you to get involved?
My mom. She told me to do something, and I did.
How did this all come to be?
Oh, this is 100% donations, but we need more donations every day. Now I've got to the stage we need people to donate vehicles, RVs. If they can help monetarily, we've got some. We have our own bank account now. If people want to help monetarily, like we're standing on $10,000 worth of gravel right now that was a mud hole.
That's great. And you said the county approved this stuff. Have you been working with like the government and local municipalities, and how has that gone in making all this happen?
Kind of funny. The county wasn't helping with anything, so I just went to the state level. Now the county's helping.
What do you mean they weren't helping? Just
they weren't doing anything. They wasn't providing anything. I mean, they would give somebody a hotel voucher for a week or something like that. We would suggest putting parks like this, and they're like, no. We suggested tiny homes. They said no. So we went to the state, and the state approved, and the new governor stepped in and really approved. And now we already have 11 tiny homes waiting on people to put in them. It's just waiting on their infrastructure. And we can be able to help more people because we've got over 100 in here already. And these actually have their bathroom and laundry facility waiting to be set up when the snow melts.
how many displaced families, how many displaced people do you think are here?
There's over 100 people, but I would say at least 65 families.
From all over the state, all over the area.
I got 4 out of the weather the night before the storm. I was out till 3 a.m. getting one gentleman standing right there. I mean, I was all over the Henderson and Black Mountain and Swannanoa getting people out myself 2 nights ago before the storm. And we got them. The address here is 9999 Orrin Davis Road because it does not even have a physical address yet.
I was going to say we could not find it on the GPS. We
got turned over to the addressing office Friday to get its own permanent address. We have a cooking tent because we have a resident cook. So if the people don't even have to cook, it gives them a chance to get out and get together.
Yeah. The amount of propane and propane tanks.
Ungodly.
And I'd heard multiple residents talk about using Starlink to get access to the internet.
They were worried about they wouldn't have internet in this modern age and time, so that was one of the first things they had was the Starlink, so they would have.
Is the pantry?
Yep, no, this is the cooking tent. This
cooking
is ship.
tent?
This was the temporary.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the permit now to build his permanent one.
Okay. Have you been surprised by the amount of like charitability out of like companies and stuff?
Overwhelmed. No, not companies.
Not companies, people?
Yep.
Got it.
I've been disappointed in companies, especially like the RV dealerships and the car dealerships, because a lot of these people lost vehicles. Mm-hmm. And I've got to go pick one up today for an individual. They just called me an hour ago.
Got it.
Pantry, this is where they can go grocery shopping without going to the grocery store.
Wow.
They keep it, Patty and the rest keep it stocked full of food. That was the dining hall to the storm.
What, the cabin?
The big tent.
Oh, okay.
That was the dining hall.
Oh, this is a tent that got
That
snowed
was
in?
the big one that got collapsed.
And tell us about this this cabin. This is just something that's been on your property?
That barn's been here for probably 100 years. And a lot of these people were unfamiliar with RVs. I mean, this is a new world to them. Just like it was me. They asked me what I knew about RVs, and I said I've never slept in one.
So you went from never having slept in an RV to having a community of RVs. No, it's honestly. And you said this is
going to be the size of the new kitchen. We can stand here, And we can go 15 minutes down the road where they haven't cleaned up yet and still see cars sticking out of the river. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even comment on that. I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, we spoke to money.
I tell the truth.
We're
I do tell the truth, and that's why I can't.
Yeah, it said something like the death toll was 104 people, 118 people.
On a day.
You said in a day?
That's probably what gets recovered in a day. Well, not now at this point, but yeah, that was probably what was getting recovered in a day. I talked to one rescue group that had recovered that in 2 hours, but they won't tell anybody.
You're not the first person to tell us this.
They won't tell anybody. It's like they're afraid to. I don't know which higher-up's afraid to tell the truth, but I got a feeling it's all going to start now. Since we have new state leaders, they're going to make them start telling the truth. I hope.
It's safe to say that pretty much everyone here lost their homes.
Oh, most definitely. And most of them were like renters or something like that, and FEMA don't help renters. If they didn't lose a home, they will give them the money to build one if they didn't lose one to begin with.
Oh, that's true. And you said you tried to build tiny homes here, and you weren't allowed.
They were already built. And
They were already built?
already built, ready to be donated. And the county said, no, you can't put tiny homes for people with this, this, and this. And then the state stepped in and said, no, this is for emergency shelter. They didn't care if it was a doghouse that a person could fit in. Mm-hmm. The county had no authority over it or anything else for 180 days.
Are the tiny homes going to be built now?
I was already built. I've got 11 of them
Oh, where?
down at the new place.
The new camp has the tiny homes?
Got 11 of them down there and about 6 RVs.
And how long did it take to get allowed to build the tiny homes? How long was that process?
2 months.
2 months of fighting with the government so you could build shelter.
Yep.
The same way that FEMA said, we can't help you help them, only we can help them, is essentially what they said.
Exactly. The FEMA came up here to talk to these people. When they left, one of the residents walked up and said, now you see why we depend on you so much? I said, yeah, that was 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Because it was just a waste of time.
So no monetary funding from FEMA or the federal government in any capacity?
No, not yet, but I look for that to change around the end of the month.
Oh, yeah. You're hoping that Donald Trump can...
He's already been business, want to know it twice.
So
Just like the new governor did as soon as he took office the 1st of January. Once the new administration took over to where it could correct things, it started immediately.
So you've already seen a change in your interactions with the state government.
Yeah, state government has pretty much told the county, help these people do what they need. The governor said, help them or answer to me.
So I was born in North Carolina, but I've lived in Tennessee. And when the floodwaters happened, my kids lived where the flood ended. And we were actually headed to Asheville. And my dad called and said, girl, you ain't getting over that mountain. So we stayed in Newport off that grill right there and fed 3,000 people for free. Just because there was no food, no water, no electric, and it was a beautiful thing to watch the move of God through people and how the unity of the nation come together. And then we went back to work and
What do you do for work?
we own Q's Catering and Backyard Barbecue and Kingdom Smoke Cabin Cleaners. And so Black Friday, my husband's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to go help. And so we heard $1 billion spent on Black Friday, and then we heard a baby froze to death over here in Western North Carolina. So if we're going to spend $1 billion on Black Friday, why can't we spend some money on getting people warm? So Patricia Tinsley called me, and she's like, hey, we need help at Haven on the Hill. My husband's a chef, and I'm really good at coordinating stuff. So we come over here, and once you get here, it's hard to leave. Once you see the people and their needs and, how they've really been let down a lot, and you get to know them and know their stories, and it's just hard to leave. We took, on my birthday, which is a week before Christmas, we took presents to Batcave. And
What is Batcave?
It's up by Chimney Rock. It's a little town that's no longer there. It is, their post office is their camp, and it's heartbreaking. It's still down to 1-lane road. You still see houses on the river. You still see trucks in the river. You still see debris. You still see the body counts on the houses. X means they checked it. 1 means that's how many bodies were found. And they're still having to look at this every day. It's so sad.
The reporting has said that around 100 people have died in this disaster. What do you think about that?
They sent 10,000 body bags out and then requested more. My friend Michelle Patton, who is a fellow TikToker with me, she started doing search and rescue and wellness checks. She had 4,000 people on her list. She's down to still 400 missing. That's just around here. FEMA come out here, right? And there were 2 of them out here, and we're like, some of these people, one has a heart condition, you have to knock on doors. They spent 30 minutes out here. There's one that has rejection letter after rejection letter because where they're living here, it's not a disaster zone. But when they put the address of where you send their mail, so they get denied because they're here. Wait,
people are getting denied from FEMA because they're even here?
This is their address, and this is not considered disaster zone. So even though they come from Black Mountain, Swannanoa, and all that, this is their home address, so they'll deny them automatically. There's 3 or 4 of them in here that they're like, I give up. There's one that lives in Asheville. He's like, I watched everything down the river. I watched it go. The guy that lives right there, his whole wood shop floated down the river. These people's story is heartbreaking. And a lot of people are like, oh, well. But that's not the case. You don't hear about it anymore. You hear about Hollywood burning, but you don't hear about Western North Carolina, the people freezing to death. There's still people in tents. There's still people in tents. And FEMA's kicking them out of hotels. And we're pulling RVs in as fast as we can. And it's sad. It's super sad.
So FEMA was only here for 30 minutes?
They were here for 30 minutes. And they did knock on half the doors. Because Patricia up there on top of the hill, she's like, I didn't even know they were here, Patty. I'm like, they didn't knock on your door? She said no. And we told them to knock on every door. I had an uncle, Ronnie McDaniels, that died in Swannanoa, and I didn't find out about it until weeks later. But I know plenty of people that have lost.
Was he considered missing for 2 weeks?
Nobody had heard from him. And he was in one of the nursing homes that got flooded out, and then next thing I knew, they were like an obituary for him, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, he died in Swannanoa.
Do you feel as if FEMA is letting you guys down because they're underfunded or just because they're incompetent?
Both. I feel like this was such a tragedy of mass altitude. Nobody really knew what they were doing, and now it's just like they're so far behind the 8 ball. How do they get in front of it? I just want to say that, these people they're beautiful and they need help, and they just went through the single most traumatic thing of their life, and they're not asking for anything but help, to stay warm, to eat the basic necessities of life. And it's beautiful up here. What James is doing is beautiful.